Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. So sit back and relax or walk and listen and join me on this journey as we try to answer this never-ending question: what makes people say, why not? Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So today's episode is a little bit more on the equestrian side, but I do want to say to anyone who isn't a horse rider, a lot of these things I talk about, if you replace horses with everyday life scenarios, will actually make a difference to yourself as well. So I do hope you don't turn off if you're not a horse rider, but if you are a horse rider, I hope you enjoy these tips and enjoy today's episode. Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So today I am actually going to talk a little bit about strength training for horse riders. So for those of you who do not know, I do have a second Instagram and TikTok, which is Strong in the Saddle. So it's on Instagram it's Strong in the Saddle with an underscore, and on TikTok it's Strong in the Saddle without the underscore. The reason being, someone got Strong in the Saddle on Instagram before me. Damn it. Anyway, the reason I want to talk about this, and do not worry if you are not into horses or a horsey person, you can still probably get a lot of benefit from this. I am going from the horse rider's perspective, but if you aren't and you are just generally training, or you are, busy lifestyle kind of person, a lot of this stuff is actually going to translate over to normal life. I'm just doing it from the example of horse riding. So do not switch off if you're not a horse rider. You will probably get some benefit from this too, and if you are a horse rider, this is going to be very, very helpful, because I think we need to highlight this a little bit more in our sport. So basically, strength training involves us doing kind of forms of resistance training. That can be body weight, it can be with weights in the gym. Resistance training is even like lifting stuff you're shopping, lifting your saddle, things like that. Like, that is still strength training, but we never look at it like that because it's just part of our daily life. And anyway, this is something that I really want to highlight, because the reason I say it'll help your horse riding, but it'll also help your daily life, is because if you are stronger, it makes things easier. So like that little things that day-to-day things like lifting, walking, all these different things, if you are overall stronger, it's going to be a lot easier. And I suppose a lot of sports have like a strength and conditioning element to them, which you will see in, I suppose predominantly in field sports, you'll probably have a knowledge of it, but it is in like every sport. And it's slowly starting to come into the equestrian sports as well. We're kind of a little bit behind on that one, because I suppose for a long time, and this would have been with many sports, this would have been the thought that, in order to get better at stuff, you just keep doing it. And yeah, that's all well and good, but we can put that training to use in a gym style setting, and we can use exercises to kind of mimic what we're doing in the sport, which means when we are doing it in the sport, it becomes a lot easier, or we're stronger, we've more stamina, this kind of thing. And for a long time, obviously with horse riding, that's not happening. Obviously in a lot of sports, they don't have a live animal as part of their equipment. Not calling our horses equipment, but you know what I mean. Like, there's a big difference in having to hit or kick a ball a certain distance and convince your horse that jump is not terrifying. And I suppose we kind of think the best way to do it is keep going and doing what we're doing. Now, I do think as well that there is, thanks to the fitness industry, a bit of a few misconceptions around strength training and gym training, and this obviously puts a lot of people off going and starting a gym, and I find myself, when people come in and join the gym, that they are very apprehensive because they think it's going to be a certain way, because social media or movies or TV, it's always portrayed in this really kind of intensive, horrendous fashion that like nobody really wants to do, but they have to do because they want to look a certain way, or yada yada. On top of that, it's a case more of that, like, there is more to it than just, here you go, we're going to kill you, you're going to crawl out and leave. I think this is something that happens. Like, you see a lot, like, obviously things on extremes sell. So the things that we see on the internet most of the time are going to be the extremes. You're going to see the HIIT, you're going to see the spin classes, like all that stuff is going to be in your movies as well. Like, how many comedy movies you've seen where a girl goes to get fit and she goes to spin class and nearly dies, or stuff like that. They're always really uncomfortable. It's horrendous, and it's not that way, because if they went, oh yeah, you just have to do this and this in a really like the usual manner, it wouldn't look good, it wouldn't sell. Nobody's interested in watching someone do 10 squats at a weight that makes them struggle a bit but not like want to die and puke their ring up. And because of that, we all kind of have this misconception that in order for a workout to be good, you have to be like crawling out of the gym, or sweating buckets, and not like being sore for days and not being able to function, almost being like like just literally, you see that picture, those jokes pictures of someone in a full body cast, like you feel like you're going to be like that after the gym. And that's not true, and it's not uncommon. So I will say for a fact, if you start a new program doing exercise you've not done before, you can look to be sore the first week. That's normal, that's fine. You will find it very difficult if you haven't been training, but you'll find that the following week, if you're continuous and still progressing, you will not be in bits and sore like you were the previous week. Now, you may still feel muscular fatigue, but you will not be, say, like, struggling to walk upstairs or unable to do things, This is not something that happens if you are programming properly. And when I say programming properly, I mean trying to do something where you can actually measure like your progress, your changes, your increase in strength and stuff like that. Like, if you were going in every week and doing a different workout every time, and going balls to the wall, you may still find that you're sore every week, and that's because you're just hitting different things every week. And a lot of time that doesn't really make like much of a huge difference. Obviously, if you are doing workouts, you're going to get fitter than if you weren't doing workouts. But if you want to be able to see where you're going, you need to be able to track your progression. What are you doing? Have you added extra reps here? Have you added extra weight? Do you know the impact you are making? And you can only do this by keeping the same program and progressing it week by week. And if you are doing that over the course of several weeks, you will see that you are not sore every week, but you may be like slightly fatigued, you may feel like a little bit weaker after, and then you mightn't either. So that's the thing I think that people, always think like, going to be sore and like, people think they have to be like pouring in sweat for being an effective workout. And I personally, especially in the summer, because every time I train I sweat like hell because it's warm, I generally do not sweat that much unless I'm training legs or lower body. I don't sweat a lot, and I would have a decent amount of muscle if I do say so myself. And you don't have to be sweating. Now obviously if you're training in the summer and it's hot, you're probably going to sweat. If you're doing cardio work, you're probably going to sweat, but you don't have to be like sweat pouring off you for it to have been an effective workout. And people kind of have that misconception that if you're not like that, it wasn't an effective workout. And another thing is, I think people think that these workouts, obviously again, they have to be hours long, like they have to be 2-3 hours in the gym, otherwise it's not worth doing. Again, this is 100% wrong. Like, you can get results from half-hour workouts. Depends what your goal is. If you are looking to just generally get a little bit stronger, yeah, you probably can. You might need 45 minutes. You might need a little bit more, okay? And that's fair, but over an hour, you don't really need to be training for over an hour. And I think people think that, oh, monster 2-hour gym session, like at what point is it actually being effective anymore? Because, like, you're gonna have to like fuel beforehand. After about an hour, you probably run out of like that energy. So now you're just kind of eating into your own muscle by working for ages. So I think the time element, when we realize that we don't actually have to be spending hours at it, it can make it a lot easier. And I always say as well, a 20-minute session 3 times a week or a 30-minute session 3 times a week is much better than the 3-hour sessions or the 1-hour session you never did. And once we can get that mindset block out, that we don't have to be spending hours and hours at a go just to get to where we want to be, it can really make a huge difference to your perception of training and how it's going to be benefit. Because if you see it as a chore, you're not going to want to do it. But if you see it as something that will really help you and make you feel better, like if you have a goal that you're working towards and this is something that's going to help you towards your goal, it's going to be a lot easier to keep going. If you're just going because you think you should, you're not going to go. And especially when it comes to the world of horse riding, I find that we are so busy. Like when people say they're busy, I really do believe the equestrians, because you know, we've horses to look after. Some of us, it's our full-time job, which means, you know, you don't get a day off. Some of us, it's a hobby, which means you're doing it around work and stuff like that, so you already have that. So, you know, that alone makes your time a lot limited, especially if you've got families, especially if you've got other things that you want to do around your life. It's very, very difficult to get that time to do it. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, saying like I understand the time pressure, and I do say like you can work this stuff into your life. You just have to plan it, just like everything else. I always talk about planning, but you do have to plan it into your life in order to be able to find time for it. And you know, there are so many benefits of doing strength training that people aren't realizing, and I'm going to come at this, as I said, from the equestrian point of view. And also, I do want to say as well, if you are doing strength training, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in a gym lifting weights. Depending on your goal, there is stuff you can do body weight. There's lots of exercises you can do body weight that are just as hard. Say, for instance, push-ups. Push-ups are just as hard as any weight exercise. The same thing with pull-ups. So, you know, if it is a case as well that you can't get to the gym, it's not the end of the world. You know, a lot of things we want to do, just basic strengthening up exercises, we can do at home with dumbbells, with like kettlebells, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be barbells and really heavy weights. Now, depending on what you are looking for as well, you can end up doing, like, you can need really, really heavy weights for some stuff. Like, obviously, if you want to become a powerlifter, you're not going to be able to train that at home unless you've got like full powerlifting thing. But if it's just general strengthening, you know, you can easily do that at home. So anyway, back to my benefits, because I side noted there for a minute because I remembered it and forgot it, remembered it again. So do you realize, okay, that by making your muscles stronger through strength training, you are now going to have more stamina. This might sound counterproductive because you think, oh, well, it's going to make you heavier and stuff like that. But no, your muscles are used to more work now, so they can hold on for longer. So this is why you see it in the case of, like, you know, other sports. People are doing them alongside their fitness training, and it does improve your overall fitness. So this can make things like riding for longer easier, because your muscles are stronger, they can hold on to the horse longer. It makes things easier, okay? Doing tasks around the yard, like anyone who's mucked out 10 stables knows that is absolutely knackering. And again, same thing, it is a stamina thing. If you are a little bit stronger, your muscles will be easier. It'll be easier for your muscles to do it for longer, okay? Not saying it's going to be easy, because it's never easy, and I'm just saying it will help. Things as well, like carrying stuff around the yard, like bales of shavings are very heavy, and moving them are hard. And same thing, like even tack, saddles, bridles, it all is heavy. Horse feed, all of this is heavy. And if you are stronger through your whole body, it'll be easier for you to carry them for longer periods of time. Now, some of that also will relate to your own weight. Like if you're, say, 5'2", 60 kilo girl, it's going to be hard to move shavings no matter how strong you are. And you know, same, and that's just a fact, okay? If you're bigger, it's easier to move bigger stuff because you weigh more as well and you're closer to the weight of it. That is not me being sexist, that is something I've had to deal with in my life because I'm a very small girl and I can't always lift what I want to be able to lift. So that's one of the benefits. Like, as I said, more stamina. You think, oh yeah, muscles more bulky. Actually no, because they're stronger now, they can actually withstand longer times of pressure, and this can make it a lot easier. Another thing is stronger so I've kind of said that you feel stronger while carrying stuff. So for instance, maybe you find carrying the saddle down the yard really, really difficult. If you do a little bit of strength training, you get stronger. Carrying it is going to be easier. And as I carrying other tools, you might find, you know, upper body strength, especially with women, tends to be a little bit less than lower body strength, and because of that, we find carrying things harder. But you know, if you have a little bit more upper body strength, carrying these things will be a little bit easier. You know, more core strength, it'll help you balance more carrying them. Our next one is actually more balanced riding. So I've actually spoken about this a little bit before. So basically, if we can control our muscles a little bit more, we can get ourselves more balance on the horse. So obviously, everyone's ridden a horse where they're really bouncy and they're bop, 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 right? That's really uncomfortable for the horse, really uncomfortable for you. If you can engage your core, which by the way, core is not just your abs, it is your lower back muscles, your glutes, it can really help you balance more. It can help you sit up straight more, hence, and then less bouncing, okay? Another thing is to do with the balanced riding is a lot of people. So if you're who rides all the time or owns horses, as in like a yard, you just may not equate to you. But for people who are, like, say in particular people who horse ride as their hobby, a lot of you people work in offices now or jobs that involve sitting down all day. What happens with that is we sit down all day and our glutes and our hamstrings get which are the back of our legs, your glutes are arse by the way, they get weak and they kind of switch off. And because of that, when we go to ride, our hips are also tight in this scenario as well. When we go to ride, we tend to grip more with our inner thigh, which we actually don't want to do. We want to tuck our hips underneath and be able to use our hamstrings too. And if you straighten up your hamstrings will be better at engaging. Same to your glutes, better at engaging. It'll help you at rise and trot because you'll be able to come up without using the stirrups as much. You'll be able to push yourself up and back down. And this will make you more balanced, because if you are gripping with your inner thighs, what tends to happen is we end to lean forward, and then, you know, it's harder to grip. We all know that John Wayne walk. Well, basically this is caused by that. If you can learn to engage your hamstrings and sit back and tuck your hips underneath, and you can have them stronger and able to grip the horse, this is where you're going to see a huge difference in your position. You're going to find yourself less reliant on your stirrups and way more balanced when you are doing anything of like rising trot or sitting trot or even just walking. Also, if we can learn to engage our abs, this will also help you feel more balanced without being like locked in, but we can grip better. We really need to work on like wrapping our legs around the horse, getting that good like strong grip on them, and then that makes things a lot easier and a lot more comfortable for both you and the horse. Because it's like, I don't know about you, but I don't think I'd want anyone bouncing around my back all the time. It's probably a little bit more uncomfortable. Again, if you have more strength in the legs like that, you will be able to give them better aids, and the horse will be able to know what you're saying better, because they're like, oh right, grand, that's what they meant. Stronger legs, another thing. Also, you know, stronger upper body relates to them being able to get more aids from the rein if you need them. You know, if you need to give them a little bit of a bend, they'll notice a little bit quicker. You know, these all work together. Also, you know, if you are more balanced and you're more comfortable in the saddle, if your horse spooks or if your horse bucks, it can give you the potentially help you stay on better, as opposed to getting rocket launched off. Or if you're not feeling very balanced, your horse suddenly goes the other direction, it'd be easier to stay on them. So I found that as well, especially like having more core strength and stuff like that, it's a lot easier when the horse sides go the opposite direction for you to stay up on them. So obviously there are times when we have no control over that because they're horses, but these are things that we maybe are taking for granted, that if we were more balanced might be a little bit easier, might save you a fall or two, which is really, really important. Another thing that is a benefit for that is, as I was saying, you know, upper body strength is better, especially because of the way we work. A lot of us work at desks. Our shoulders are rounded, our chest is tight, our back muscles, so in around your shoulder blades, are weaker, and that can make it very difficult for you to engage and sit up properly while riding. And what happens here a lot of the time you'll see is if people are weak through their upper back is they'll overcompensate through their lower spine and arch their back to sit up. When if you have strong mid-back muscles, which is say in between your shoulder blades, if we can pull them back, you can sit up easier. And that can make a huge difference to your posture. It can also make a huge difference when you're riding as well. So anything, as I said, giving bend aids, for the horse, that kind of thing, they always say come from your elbow. That is to make sure you're not pulling out with your arms and you're actually using your back muscles. If they are not able to engage, you're still going to pull out them from your arms. So if you can get used to like bringing that movement from your shoulder by strengthening it, it will make it a lot easier to do these kind of movements and give these kind of aids to your horse. So it's another like really important thing that maybe we forget or we don't think about when it comes to strength training, but it is like it can make a huge difference to your actual riding. And again, this is things that can be done without hours in the gym, just consistency and strengthen up those muscles. And especially those back muscles, because we don't use them, people find it very hard to engage them. Like even if you sat up now and try to pull your shoulder blades together without moving your arms. So I say like, put your arms out in front of you straight out and bring your shoulder blades together. See how difficult that is. If you find that very easy, grand, happy days. If you're finding that difficult, it means you probably need to work on those upper back muscles a bit. And I think it's a great test to see how that works in like with our body and how it can actually affect our riding. And another thing about like strength training is it tends to build muscle, okay? So muscle then can help you protect your joints. So the more muscle around the joint, the more protection it has. You'll see this a lot with people who have arthritis or joint issues. If they build a muscle up around the area, it can really help protect the joint. Now obviously it's not going to reverse your arthritis, but it can actually have a positive effect and less pain because the joint is now supported by a muscle that can really help it and help it function. And again, obviously, like it's not going to fix the issue, but it can definitely help. This comes for as well, say for instance, if you fall, if these joints are more protected by muscle, it can also kind of cushion it, less likely of, worse injury. Now obviously that is not always possible. Like sometimes it doesn't matter. Like sometimes, I don't know, I've had the silliest injuries from doing nothing, and with that, like it won't always 100% fix that as an issue, but sometimes it can actually really like help, as I said, protect you. So if you have a fall, you're less likely to get injured. So that's another reason, we want to protect those joints. You want to make them strong as we can, less likely to be pulled, or all these different things. So it's another thing that really can help with strength training. Another thing is if you have previous injuries that you've never rehabbed, really important to do that, because again, like if you're stiffer on one side, your horse can feel it and that can transfer to the horse. And with strength training, sometimes you may need to start right from the basics, especially if you're coming back from an injury. But if you are not coming back from an injury, or you have a little niggle, or like a lot of us maybe have shoulder pain or back pain, and sometimes that is not actually because the area is weak, it's because the area is overworked compensating for other muscles. So if you learn to activate those other muscles by strength training and making them more active, this takes the pressure off the sore muscle. And you'll find like people with shoulders, a lot of the shoulders are tense, they're not weak. Your lower back a lot of the time is taking up a lot of slack from your abs and your glutes, and that's what causes back pain. So if you were able to strengthen those areas, you take the pressure off that sore area, or the what you might consider as your weak area, and now suddenly it is able to function better. And again, you can, it's funny, because you think maybe building muscle is going to make you tighter, but sometimes it can actually make things looser. Like I have a pain in my shoulder, I can stretch it till cows go home, but if I do some band exercises on it, the pain goes away. So, stretching doesn't always help tight muscles. Tight muscles aren't always tight because it can be really funny. They can actually be pulled because there's another tight muscle. Loads of different reasons it can happen, but this can potentially be alleviated with the right amount, like right type of strength training. Obviously, if you're super tight and you're doing a lot of powerlifting, you're probably going to stay tight. But certain band exercises and these kind of things, again, resistance-based exercises may not fall into the guise of strength, can really help those injuries or old niggles. Maybe it's an injury that you've never rehabbed, like if you went to physio and didn't do anything about it, these kind of things, it's not going to go away if you ignore it. Like, we need to try and build it back up, build the area up, strengthen it, get it used to firing again and working properly, and that can make a huge difference to your pain, your mobility, your movement, your riding. These are all these things that we don't think about, because again, it's just, maybe it's been there for so long, you're just so used to it, and that is the danger. We get so used to it just being there. Oh, that's my bad this, that's my bad that, and instead it could be something that could be helped. No human is perfectly symmetrical and all grand, but there are things we can do to help these, to make these like idiosyncrasies work better together and be less of an issue down the line. So it's just worth remembering that is a thing that we don't really think about, and we try to ignore. And like before, we always told, if there's something wrong with you, rest it, but a lot of the time you shouldn't be resting. Now, if you break a bone or you dislocate something, you have to rest until you can start doing rehab on it. But there are a lot of scenarios where we've rested, we've left it alone, you wonder why it's not gone away. It's because you've never actually done anything to build it back up after the rest period, and it's just as important of that downtime of letting it heal as building it back up and bringing it back into working order. And I suppose if you've listened to this and kind of thought, but like, I don't really, put that kind of effort into me, which I find a lot of equestrians do. They will put everything ahead of themselves, especially their horse. Like, the horse will look at them funny, and they will just be like, oh God, I better call the vet, whereas if it came to himself, their arm could be hanging off and be like, should be grand. This affects your horse. If you are not performing to your best, this is going to affect your horse. If you are bouncing out all over the horse's back because you're unbalanced, it's going to affect the horse. If you're tighter on one side and it means you're pulling the horse a lot more, this is going to affect your horse. It's going to make them tighter on that side. It's going to make them fight more on that side. If you don't feel in control, the horse doesn't feel you're in control, the horse is going to panic. We all know horses rely on their riders for direction. They are really rarely problematic animals, if I'm honest. A lot of the time it is either the rider or follow their host of things, but it's very rare that the horse is actually an issue. So if you are not confident, your horse is not confident, it's gonna make riding a lot more difficult. I know myself, I have been riding up to a fence and I know Sam hesitates, then I hesitate and he stops dead in front of it. I know Sam hesitates, I give him a little tap on the shoulder, a kick, he jumps it. They're relying on you to tell them to do their job. They really need your guidance and help. So if you are not able to give your optimal to them, where that is strength, your body, your mind, any of that, it's going to affect your horse. Especially the likes of these things where I'm saying, like, if you're unbalanced, if you're bouncing all over the horse, if your legs aren't strong, if you're reefing them in the mouth, if you're like, there's so many different things that can be caused them. You were going to cause discomfort for your horse, you could cause injury to the horse, you could cause your horse to pick up issues or behavioural issues or tightness issues. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, please do the horse. Like, come on, you do so much for them. This is one little thing that you're also doing for them. It's not just for you. And I think we do kind of forget that when we're putting ourselves to the side. Everyone, if you're not putting yourself first, it's not just you that suffers, it's those around you that suffer, or in this case it's your horse that suffers. So it's something worth thinking about. I hope these little tips or these little reasons give you food for thought on the whole situation. Maybe you'll look into doing a bit of strength training, maybe you'll join a class or do something like that. Like, you don't have to go and become a bodybuilder. It's just these little things we can do to help change how we work and how we work with our horse. And yeah, so with that, guys, I'm going to leave you. I know this was just a bit more on the horse side for those who normally listen to my podcast, but if you replace horse with different elements of your life, you'll probably find similar things, like, as I said, posture, strength, like, carrying the saddle could be carrying the shopping, having more stamina could mean you're getting to a flight of stairs without being out of breath. All these things are all intertwined. So just because I said horses today doesn't mean it's not applicable to everybody. With that, guys, if you are looking for me, you will find me on Instagram and TikTok. It's Chrissy A Fitness, and as I said at the start, I do have the equestrian one for any equestrians looking for me. My Instagram is stronginthesaddle_, and my TikTok is stronginthesaddle with no underscore. For all of that, my website is www.chrissyhawkins.com. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you found this helpful. I really do appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast, so if you please could help me with the algorithm and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and even, if you want to reach out and suggest topics for me, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Drop me a DM on Instagram or TikTok, and thanks again for listening.